Welcome to Family Focus. I'm Joyce Johnson, President and CEO of Johnson & Olson Communications and Casting. My guests today, two guests, Maria Paparella and Janice Robinson. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, and you are from a group called Chair-ity Incorporated. Let's first of all start with you, Maria. Do you want to tell us what this organization is all about?
Yeah, so our mission is to eliminate the financial and emotional barriers for kids who are aging out of foster care and beginning independent living. And we do that by providing and delivering furniture for these young adults, turning their house into a home.
And how did you both get involved in this?
So I started the organization when I was a sophomore in high school in 2014. And then Jazz came in, I don't know, 2 years ago? 3?
Almost 3 years.
Yeah, almost 3 years ago now, and she's our program manager.
Okay. And, you know, to start this while you're in high school is pretty incredible too, first of all, because in high school we're worried about all kinds of different things and you're involved in organizations. What made you so interested in helping? And both of you, I'll ask you this question. What made you so interested in helping foster kids?
Yeah, I think for both of us it was really personal. I think mine comes from, I wish that I was able to do, I think, what Jazz has done, but I grew up in this huge extended family, stereotypical, you know, Sunday night dinners at grandma's house for an Italian family, and I'd be hanging out with all my cousins, and I'd go home and I'd have to play Barbies with my dad, and that was like the worst thing in the world because I was an only child. And so for every birthday, every Christmas, I would always ask for a sibling. And unfortunately, my parents couldn't have any other kids. And so we looked into adoption and foster care for a really long time. I grew up in the Akron area, and so in Summit County, they put children waiting for adoption up online. And at that time, I thought I had found my perfect sister. You know, we had just about everything in common. Even our birth dates were just a few days apart. And we came really close to adopting her, but, you know, kind of at the last second realized that, you know, both my parents worked full-time jobs, and it probably wasn't going to be the best place for that child, and probably not the best fit for us as a family either. And so we didn't adopt, but because she was on this website, I was able to kind of keep tabs on her up until I was a sophomore in high school. And at that point, I knew what my next steps were. I knew how much support I had from family and friends, you know, emotionally and financially, and started asking questions about what was going to happen to her as I knew I was going to college and, you know, knew what was next for me, and realized, you know, started to learn about what the process of aging out and the lack of support that there was, and wanted to do something about it. Yeah. I'll let Jazz share.
How did you get involved?
So I actually have been a foster parent myself for the last 3 years. I don't currently have any placements, but I had 4 different children over the last 3 years that I fostered at home. So when I saw the listing for this job, like, it definitely hit home with the foster kid aspect, but I had never really had much information about aged out foster youth because I fostered babies mostly and toddlers. So it was really cool to get to learn this population as they grow up and become adults, and be able to help from like a different angle as well through my job. It's been really nice.
And was it more of a temporary situation as they were babies? Were they going to reunite with their families, or?
Yeah, every situation is different, but the ones I had did end up going to family members after being with us.
Now, what are some of the needs of kids that are in foster care? It's pretty incredible when you think about it. And some kids are in it really, they never reunite with their families, and they stay in the system until they're, what, 18?
Yeah.
So what are some of their needs?
So for kids who are aging out of care, I would say they have a lot of needs. It's really a segment of the population that's forgotten and overlooked because they're at this age, you know, I guess arbitrary age of 18 where society deems them to be an adult. But I think at 18, I was still a kid in terms of relying on my family for so much support. And so luckily there's so many organizations out there that are there to support them, but we all need volunteers and we all need, support. So there's organizations that support them through mentoring services. So something so important to have somebody in their corner cheering them on, but also helping them navigate life, which, without a family member or a parent, I think it's really challenging to know what to do or even just to go through things. So mentoring support, our program really started because first I realized the county had told me that one of their greatest needs was furniture and household goods and a way to get these items, but that I had already, kind of realized that all my cousins, when they moved into their first apartment, they had hand-me-downs from family members. Mom and dad gave them a bed, aunt and uncle had a dresser, grandma had an extra lamp, the neighbors had some pots and pans, and through that community, their house turned into a home. And so that's really what our program is based after. So mentoring, items for their home that makes them feel comfortable, give them a sense of dignity, allow them to have a good night's sleep before their next day. We also partner with programs that can help them with their education or career readiness, getting their driver's license. A lot of them haven't driven a car or have a driver's license, and that's such a monumental step, I think, in growing up to have that sense of freedom for transportation. And then, we partner with another variety of nonprofits and partners that are supporting them in a number of different ways.
And what made you decide, Jazz, to be a foster in the first place?
My partner and I were looking to grow our family at the time and wanted to adopt and looked into adoption and learned more about foster care that way, and realized that this was a community that really needed parental support that we could provide. So that was what led us to that. And we thought maybe it would end in adoption, and it hasn't so far, but it's been very, we've learned a lot through the process for sure.
I was a foster mom too.
Really?
I had a 10-year-old, and we were very open to adopting, but I can tell you from personal experience, she did not want, she wanted to go back to her family in another state. And she really just shut us down. That's what she wanted to do. That's where she wanted to be. And it was very hard for me to say, well, we have this wonderful family and you can have everything, and they don't. And they don't. So there are different challenges, but I am still in touch with her to this day.
Oh, that's nice.
To this day, and she has called me and we've talked, and she never got adopted and lived in the system and tries to keep some contact with her bio family. But I think of her often because she really started with not having those things. When you are temporary, I mean, who is your family? Where do you spend your holidays? Who gives you that advice you need when you're getting your first job? Who steps in and does that for you? These are people that are aging out of the system, and sometimes they're just not ready.
I think another big challenge that the aged out population faces is that up until aging out at 18, somebody else, another adult, has made most of the decisions in their life, and they haven't been given a whole lot of autonomy in their decisions and their life. And then at 18, all of a sudden, they're considered an adult and they have to figure everything out on their own. So by pooling all of our resources that we can, we're at least giving them better resources to choose from and
Do we know how many kids we're talking about that age out of the system every year? Do we have
in general, I don't know that number off the top of my head, but in Summit County, on average, about 30.
Really?
In Cuyahoga County, about 170.
Oh my goodness.
And many of the young adults who are aging out of foster care, about 7 in 10 women who age out of foster care are pregnant before the age of 21. And so one of the big things that we try to combat with our services is providing a bed and a full bedroom set for the children of these young adults, because one of the big perpetual cycles of foster care is a parent was in foster care, their child goes into foster care, and so on and so forth. And so by just providing a bed, sometimes we can end that cycle automatically.
And, you know, education-wise, I would say if you are, you know, aging out of the system, you're not going to be going to school, and you're going to be trying to get a job and do all of
Correct.
those things.
Yeah, so just about 50% of those who age out finish high school, and then
I think only 3% end up with a college degree.
Yeah, although many more, I think, would like to attend college, but
Yes.
don't have that opportunity because they have to work or figure it out on their own, or just don't have
And a lot-
anyone explaining how to
Yeah.
apply and go
Or
forward
a lot
with
of
it.
times they're focused on survival at 18,
Yeah.
and like the opportunity passes before they can figure it out.
For sure.
And literally they have a birthday, and then is that it?
Yeah, so really on their 18th birthday, that is when they age out of the system. So
There are some programs that continue, some like resources. There's the Bridges program,
Yeah.
has resources up until they turn 21.
yeah, and again, it's right on their 21st
Yeah.
birthday when those resources
Which still
stop.
we find, like I said, they haven't had much say in their lives up to that point. So at that time, sometimes they're hesitant to take more handouts or have somebody telling them what they should and shouldn't be doing. So some of them don't even accept the Bridges help. But
Yeah.
if they can do what they need to, it is a very helpful program.
For sure. I think like any teenager, you know, they want to try to make it by themselves, do it themselves. And, you know, sometimes you have to let somebody hit rock bottom before they figure out what's best for them and what to do next, and ask for help and support.
It just sucks that there's like an age limit to those resources.
Yeah.
And so we try to not have an age limit, not a hard one. We kind of go situational. If it's somebody's first home, even if they're like a little bit older, if they still need the furniture, like we're willing to help them out.
Can you share with us some success stories, some of the people that you've worked with, and what it has meant for them to work with your organization, some of their backgrounds, as much as you can, and where they ended up?
Yeah, I can share one, and then maybe you can as well. So one of the stories that I like to share that kind of, I think, illustrates what our program does for a young person is actually our first ever delivery. And now our program is the same in a lot of ways as it was over 10 years ago, but also different in a lot of ways. So take, you know, this story with a little bit of a grain of salt. But so the first apartment that we served, when we get a referral in from a social worker, that social worker fills out a form and indicates everything that the young adult needs. We then call them, confirm that that list is correct, help them choose these items. So again, you know, we know what's happening. We then pull those items from our inventory, load them in a truck. And so again, I'm seeing the truck filled with items for an apartment. Close the truck, drive to her apartment building, open the truck. Again, I see this truck filled with stuff. Walk up 3 flights of stairs, knock on her door, she opens it. And although, you know, I saw the list, I double-checked the list with her. I pulled the items from inventory. I saw the truck filled 2 separate times. I didn't realize that when she opened that door, there wouldn't be anything in there, and that she had been there until we came and delivered, that she'd been sleeping on the ground with nothing but a pillow and a blanket and a trash bag full of clothes.
That is heartbreaking.
The only light that she had in her apartment was the overhead lighting from her bathroom. And so, you know, then our guys unloaded the truck, moved everything into her apartment. We set it up, and, you know, within less than an hour, her house became a home. It was a place of comfort, a place that she would feel excited to return to after a day of work, but I think even more so, really want to keep and work that much harder, whether that was in school or at her job, so that she could stay there, because it was the first time that she had a place to call her own, a place that she had a say in what it looked like and what it felt like, a place that she knew that she wasn't going to get pulled out from unless it was her own decision. And so, you know, I think when we do deliveries, even today, more than 750 some apartments later, that's not a story, unfortunately, that's really unique to that first one of opening the door, there being nothing, and bringing everything in to create a home. But I do think it, you know, exemplifies the need of this population and just this necessity that's not being met. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's really incredible. And you wonder where she would have been if you didn't help her.
Yeah, for
She would be
sure.
sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
You have a story too?
Yeah. The one that sticks out to me the most is a girl we've gotten pretty close with since we delivered, which happens sometimes, the kids stick around. But this girl in particular was still in high school when we delivered to her, and she had aged out as a junior in high school and was living in an apartment by herself, still like taking the bus to school. And I remember delivering her furniture and like just that hit me, the weight of that she was like on her own and still finishing high school and living on her own. And I couldn't imagine what that would feel like because I didn't have that same experience. And she was so sweet and so nice and so grateful for the furniture and everything. And she kept in contact with us. And we actually helped her move some of the stuff to her college dorm a couple years later. So we did watch her like succeed, graduate high school, and now she's on her college journey, which is very cool.
It's like a really cool story because she also wanted to give back to those, you know, who are going through the same situation. So when she moved into her dorm, she reached back out to us and, you know, was like, okay, well, I can't take my sofa and my dresser to my college dorm, you know, would you guys want that back and take that? And then she's also now in school studying psychology because she wants to be a psychologist for those who are going through the system and have similar experiences to herself.
I would just cry, you know, and the fact that she was still a junior in school, there was no leeway for her to even finish high school.
No, it was, you know, the age 18.
They divide the age.
Yeah, so a lot of kids who have gone through the system, a few things happen. One, they can be delayed in school because if they're going through the foster care system, they can be jumping from foster family to foster family. Yeah, and switching schools can delay them in education. But also, you know, in terms of just development, they're sometimes a little bit behind because they're not getting that typical exposure to things that leads them to be maybe a grade or two behind as well, even in maturity wise.
Yes, and I'm sure, as you see, again, many as they get older and they get into the system, they're not adopted. And how does that impact them to realize they're never going to be adopted or don't have a home waiting for them?
I do find that a lot of the young adults we serve do still have some sort of relationship with either their foster family or their biological family. It may be strained, it may be different than a normal nuclear family, but they are still in contact with them most of the time. It's just that they are needed to live on their own. Like they don't have the resources to house them or help them in that capacity anymore. But I always am like pleasantly surprised when I hear them say like, oh, I got this from my mom, or my foster mom helped me with this thing. I'm like, oh, good. You do have a community. It's just stretched out. You know?
Yeah, I would say, you know, I think like anyone, you want to have a sense of connection, a sense of family, a sense of support. And so I think it's really natural for these kids or young adults to reach out, whether, you know, it's for the good of them or not, to want to have some sort of connection. And I also think, you know, to Jazz's point, a lot of times the mom that they may be now in touch with 18 years later was in a completely different place when they went into the system. And
Definitely.
mom or dad or grandma or aunt and uncle had, you know, those 18 years to work on themselves, and now, you know, again, to your point, are not in the position to be, you know, a super supportive figure in terms of housing them or financial support or even guiding them, but can maybe be somebody that they call when they just need somebody to talk to.
Let's give out the information for your organization, if you would. Tell us how people can reach you, what they can do if they want to get a hold of you.
Yeah, so you can visit our website, which is Chair-ity.org, chair like you would sit in, dash ity.org. Yep. If you want to donate furniture, donate financially, or donate your time through volunteering, there's a big donate button at the top of our page. You can go ahead and click that and find links to all of those things. We have several impact stories on there as well if you want to learn more about the system or different kids that have gone through our system. And then we have several events happening throughout the year. Our next event will be September 8th at Mayfield Country Club. We're having a golf outing and would love to have people come out and play some golf.
Wonderful. And I was just going to say, you said you need people to volunteer.
Yeah.
What are some of the different things they could do? Do you need people to drive those trucks? Do you need people to unload furniture?
Sometimes. We love to have people involved on the deliveries when we can, but most of the time our volunteer opportunities take place at our warehouse, so either organizing, doing some DIY on some furniture we have, packing kitchen sets into like boxes that are just ready to grab and go when we go on deliveries. And then we also have a design opportunity for our volunteers, which is really fun. It can be done virtually, so we can have a lot of people in on it if they want to, but that's where they get to talk to the young adults we're serving, like one-on-one, and help them pick out the furniture from our inventory for each delivery. So that can be like an ongoing or just a one-time thing if people are interested in that.
And, you know, there are so many people that say, hey, I'm downsizing. I need to declutter and get rid of some of these dishes. As I'm sitting here thinking, what better organization?
Yeah.
What better organization?
I mean, that's really how we started, was just, you know, hand-me-down furniture, enough to get you started, enough to make you feel at home. And I'll add one more thing to Jazz's note about volunteering. We are actually really, really lucky. We are moving into a warehouse space that's going to be about 3 times the size of what we're in right now, which will allow us to take in more items, to give our young adults more of a choice. So these design volunteers that she's talking about will have ample items to show our young adults. And so we are moving the first 2 weeks of May and need a ton of support and hands to help us put lamps in a truck, art in a truck, help us organize this new warehouse. So whether, you know, you can lift heavy things or not, we would love to have you come out and help us. So I think it's May 5th to May 15th. We're looking for as many hands as possible. So if your company can come, great. If you just want to come as an individual, also great. Sign up through our website.
What a great idea. And I love that you get the whole community involved, because these kids, you know, they say, what's the saying, it takes a village to raise a child? I'm going to say this is where it starts. I mean, this is the village. And you talked about mentors, people that the kids can call, hey, I have a job interview tomorrow. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to wear. My gosh. And how many times you talk to your parents or family members, and if you don't have that, you need that kind of support.
For sure.
Is there anything else we haven't touched on that would be important here for us that you'd like to share about either your experiences or some of the work that's done? We've talked about a lot of this stuff.
I think I'll add one thing. You know, I think it's easy to sometimes assume whenever you see somebody, you know, walking around, whether it's them having a job that you yourself don't really qualify as something dignified or needed a lot of education to get there, that you just don't know somebody's background and what it took for them to get there, and just to always, you know, start with a sense of curiosity when meeting somebody, because a lot of our kids that we work with, that if you saw them, passing them at the mall or passing them on a walk or something, you might not start with the best assumptions, but when you hear their stories or hear where they come from or hear what they had to overcome, it is absolutely incredible to see what they have done for their lives. And I know if I was in that situation, if I didn't have the support that I did and still do, that I could not be where so many of these young adults are. So I'm just really proud of like what they're able to do for themselves and where they've, come on their journey.
They are the coolest group of people. Like they're so resilient, and like almost every single one that we meet has an incredible story like that, and where they've risen above and beyond, and we watch them go on to do great things, and it is really cool, really awesome population.
And it's, we're really providing a necessary need that they have. There's no need for them to be grateful for what we're doing or for what a lot of our partners are doing, because it should be a need that has already been met, and our society is failing to do that.
Yes, they are. And I think about my kids older that come to all the time. We're helping them all the time now. We are out of time. We are out of time, but I want to just thank you so much for being a part of this program. And again, anyone that wants to help out, boy, they got a lot of exciting things happening, that there's an opportunity to help out. And I'd like to thank you for joining us on Family Focus. I'm Joyce Johnson. Thank you for spending your time with us. And if there's any questions, people can reach out to you, go to your website and help you out. And thank you for joining us on Family Focus.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.